So Belfast Confetti by Kieran Carson is an interesting perspective on conflict. It's very personal. It's in the first person. It gives us it gives us a sense of being in the moment as well, and which links to other poems like what's it called? Bayonet Charge. That's the one, and a number of others. The fact that we're suddenly, that this is happening just like out of the blue, and it's something that we have never experienced, but it's something that this person experienced a lot. So the idea being that a bomb goes off, violence erupts, and whilst the poet wants to get away and escape it all, they can't. They're kept in by the security forces. So the sense of panic is seen in the way in which it's written. So from a point of view of form, we have two stanzas of irregular length and irregular line length, irregular punctuation. There's an awful lot of irregularity, which is an obvious way of mimicking the irregularity of life in Belfast at the time and of this event of a bomb exploding. The confusion, the panic, the sense that with each short line there's something stopping it going any further, which in some cases is punctuation. And it has been said that perhaps this mimics the shape of the terraced houses. You have a street and an alley, and the fact is, as he explains, all the alleyways and side streets blocked with stops and colons. So there's this real sense of entrapment, of conflict affecting lives in the way that it stereotypes, it stigmatizes. You are a Catholic, you will stay in this area. You are a Protestant, you will stay in that area. And for the poet, the effect of this, and I believe one parent was Catholic, one was Protestant, which is unusual, but the effect of this was that he wanted to escape it all. He wanted to write. He wanted not to be defined by the events within which he was born, and other people did want to be defined by it, but he didn't. And he creates this very frenetic poem. And structurally, we are in the present straight away. Suddenly, as the riot squad moved in, it was raining exclamation marks. So this is a conflict situation within a huge conflict, the Northern Ireland conflict. And the fact is that people are throwing and firing guns and throwing bits of metal and whatever at the security forces, and they are firing rubber bullets and whatever back. So this is a dangerous situation. And the words, nuts, bolts, nails, car keys. Now this isn't a metaphor. This is reality. This is what would have been thrown at the security forces. But then we do get some metaphor. A fount of broken type. Now, what is the broken type? This is the interesting image through this poem. Is the broken type? We've got to think of a typewriter. But is it the failure of people to communicate with each other, and the fact that the only way they can communicate is to throw things at each other? Is it the failure of the press to correctly report on these incidents, and instead of objectively reviewing and trying to bring people together, they stigmatise and pigeonhole and stereotype communities and individuals, which creates that self-fulfilling prophecy of despair and feeling of sympathy for oneself. So a fount of broken type. We've got rapid fire, burst, rapid, I was trying to complete a sentence in my head, but it kept stuttering. All the alleyways and side streets were blocked with stops and colons. So the language in this, the consonants are really harsh and aggressive, and the rhythm to it is disjointed, and it represents that feeling of, at the minute, this is not a place you want to be. But then we move on to the second stanza, which is in the past. And it's more reflective, and it's almost, we jump inside the head of this person, and it's like, time, a bit like in a bayonet charge when everything seems to go into slow motion, and there's this clarity of thought and this awareness of how stupid it all was. And he says, I know this labyrinth so well. Balaclava, Raglan, Inkerman, Odessa streets, which incidentally are names of battles from the Crimean War. The point being that the world in which these people live is defined by conflict. It's defined by artillery. It's defined here, a Saracen, Kremlin two-mesh, Macrolon face shields. It's defined by equipment, of military equipment, and it gives it a real harsh feel. We're not talking about a nice suburban idyll somewhere in Newcastle-under-Lyme. We're talking about something pretty grim, which needn't be grim, but it's so self-involved in its own misery that that's what it becomes. But he knows this labyrinth so well, and the word labyrinth, we think back to, it's from mythology, isn't it? But we think back to the complicated nature of a labyrinth, the fact that it traps you, the fact that it's difficult to find your way out. So as a metaphor, it's brilliant. Labyrinths are great for hiding things. They're great for avoiding detection, but they're also great for keeping people in their place. And this is certainly the case here. Why can't I escape? And the fact that it is a labyrinth, the use of that metaphor of a labyrinth, enforces or emphasises rather the desperation of this person. Why can't I escape? It's incredibly emotive. Every move is punctuated. Crimea Street, dead end again. And if we, the use of punctuation obviously is linking back to this broken type, to the fact that words should be enough, but they're not. Words never solve, they never solve a problem when it turns to war. It's failed at that point. And if you think about the nature of punctuation within language, punctuation creates rhythm, it creates pause, it creates separation. If we all taught, through stream of consciousness, and we didn't allow for natural pauses and awareness of how language really works, the world would be a confusing place. But that is the world that he's living in, something that goes against what everybody knows should happen. And then, so we get the military stuff here, and then we get more reflection. My name, where am I coming from? Where am I going? A fusillade of question marks. And again, this desperation here, because these are the questions that are asked of him by the security forces. He can't just leave his area and go and do what everybody else wants to do. He has to show who he is. He has to prove it. He has to be allowed back into his own community once he's left it. And this for him is unacceptable. So again, like many of the poems, At the Border, The Right Word, this is about the effects of conflict on people, on individuals. And it's incredibly personal because of that.